Yeah, definitely don't start with a feature film. That's my
That's kind of what I tried to do at one point. Yeah.
I'd say that, you know, this generation is one of the luckiest generations to start a filmmaking career because it is quite easy to get access to cameras. It doesn't matter how good they are. And also, I'd say your greatest asset is the internet, is YouTube, is the power to just make something and upload it and have people see it. That's something that wouldn't have happened, you know, 10 or 15 years ago. There's no way. And now people are getting funded now. A bunch of YouTubers got funded by Ron Howard to make films, which is like unprecedented and completely insane, and that's because of the internet. So I think just make stuff, put it out there, even if it's not perfect. Try to finish projects, and you'll just get better and better. Everyone who is a filmmaker made a really, really, really bad first movie, so don't worry about failing your first time.
And even the experienced filmmakers make bad films.
That's true.
So I would just say make stuff. That's essentially it. Don't let anything stop you. Because when you really think about it, what is stopping you other than... Because you said you have a camera, you have a DSLR or something. I'm sure that's what you said. People have worse cameras than that. But like I started on like a crappy camcorder. Like just start. Like don't think about like what everyone else has. You'll get there eventually. I don't even have to worry about it anymore because I live with him, and that's easy now. Next question, maybe?
Yeah. Who's next? Oh, I'll pick this time. Okay. Pink hair.
Do you want me to stand up as well?
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
I really like the film. I was wondering, because your past two films were kind of like parodying certain genres, but this one seemed to take a slightly different angle, and I wondered how you came up with the idea.
So with all of the short films I've been trying to make, I have been just kind of trying to keep that in mind of like seeing if I can take like a big movie genre and tell a more mundane story with it. So with Tea Chronicles, my first film, it was like a survival horror film, but about tea. With this Offline, my second film, it was like big disaster film, but about losing the internet. And with this one, I started off wanting to make a Western, basically. I was trying to think, well, yeah, how can I sort of like tell a mundane Western? Well, you need two people kind of like standing off over one thing that they both want kind of for themselves. And so I thought about lots of different like ideas for what scenario that could take place in. And eventually I stumbled upon like a hotel room, two people kind of standing off over a bed. And it basically just like the whole story kind of grew from there. And it did get to a point where the Western element kind of became a bit less important. Like we filmed it, like all of the sort of like cinematography was sort of like derived from watching Westerns and figuring out how they usually do their stuff. So still sort of seeing it through that lens, and a lot of the music was kind of like Western themed, and there are still like some Western like there is like right at the end when he slams the door that you like there's a little gunshot in there, and when he like slams down the keys they put in like the sound of spurs. So there are like little bits of Western stuff in there, but it's just not obviously Western anymore. The sort of like the story about the two characters kind of like took on a life of its own.
I guess it's kind of, I quite like that though, because obviously your first one's, like you were saying, a very clear sort of, this is horror, and then the second one was like survival movie, and then this one is kind of like inspired by Westerns. I think it's nice to be a bit more subtle about it, like the story was inspired by the idea of a Western, but then it kind of took on a different life, and I think that's nice. I think that's quite nice that it was more subtle in there, because I knew the gunshot was there, and I like applauded. I saw it in Kieran's room, and then when it ended, I was like, oh my god, that's so clever. But I didn't know that when the keys went down, that you had like the side of the clinkly shoes that they have. So that's good. Well done.
Lots of little, and then obviously like the hat he wears, the Stetson, is like an obvious like Western thing. So lots of like clues in there about where the idea came from. For sure. But yeah, I kind of did enjoy that the story kind of took a hold of itself a bit more, and it wasn't as Western-y. And with the next two films that I want to make, they're not really kind of like inspired by any particular genre at all. They're just kind of more focused on the story, so that's kind of the evolution I guess I'm taking. Cool.
Should we go over this side of the room?
Yeah. Do you want to pick someone, Jack?
Sure. Yeah. Blonde hair, wristbands and that. Sorry, what's your name? Let us do it.
Hello. Congrats on a great film, because when I watched trailer, it was, I wasn't sure about it, but the film overcame all of my expectations, and congratulations on that. I wanted to ask, when the idea came to your mind, was it inspired by some book or film or something like that?
The idea? It very much, like I was saying, came out of just like wanting to do a Western and sort of figuring out how I could tell a Western in a more mundane scenario. It was just like, it wasn't at all that I kind of like wanted to like tell a story about homophobia or anything like that. That just like all came out of like wanting to put two people in a room and create some kind of conflict. And I also at the beginning kind of like decided that Western was kind of the genre I wanted to take on next, because I wanted to tell a story that just like focused on two characters stuck in one room, because I felt like it's very hard to tell like an engaging story about lots and lots of characters in 10 minutes, and so I really wanted to like focus in on just like, can I tell just like, if I just focus in on two people, then you can learn more about them, and hopefully that would sort of make them more interesting characters. So that was a bit more.
Should we go front row? You've had your hand up for ages. Do what you want.
I like it how, like, in a lot of your films, it's very character-driven rather than plot-driven. Could you explain about, like, the character development and how long that takes and how you made your decisions and stuff?
I said this to Kieran. I said that, like, it was really, really clever that you'd written it character-driven rather than plot-driven, because that's hard. That's, like, hard to do. Like, that's what, like, for those of you who are into filmmaking and directors and that, Martin Scorsese is very character-driven, like it's characters drive plot rather than plot driving character. And that's hard to write, so I think you've done a really good job by making them the focus rather than the surroundings. Because that, like, I don't know if you've seen a series I made last year called Project Library, that was more plot drives character. That was like, this guy owes £1 million, then that drives them, rather than what's happening around to them. So I think that you did a really good job. I think it's really hard to do, so.
Thank you. I do really appreciate that. At the same time, I wasn't thinking about it in that kind of way at all. Like I was just thinking, you know, this is going to be, you know, is going to be like a very character-driven movie, because it's all about just, you know, two people in a room. You kind of just like have to focus on who they are because there's not much else to do. But for me, I at the same time, I was always trying to see where I could get plot out of it, like the circumstance of them getting stuck in that room together. That's very much like a plot type device to kind of spark the whole thing. The blizzard is a very like plot type thing. All of that sort of stuff. I tend to see like character and plot as being pretty intertwined, so I don't tend to think about it that much. But you always want to try and make interesting characters, I guess.
I think a lot of it also comes down to casting as well. It's like you can write these characters, but until you see them actually being played by a person, you don't really know them that well. And that really came out when we saw a lot of different people auditioning for both of these parts, just finding the right people for it and how their chemistry worked together. So that was like a really fun thing, getting to see like the different options. It
was interesting as well, wasn't it? Like I was talking to Charlie about the character Ali. And I remember saying certain things to you, like that certain phrases that Bill uses in the film would trigger him, and it's like he's getting it all the time, like he's had it in college and all sorts of stuff, and it's just things like that. There's like, they're not making him angry anymore, they're just making him a bit just kind of like, I still have to deal with this, I can't believe it. And like, this was stuff I was saying to Charlie, and about saying like dealing with it in school and giving him a bit of a backstory, and Charlie was like, this is not stuff I've even thought about, you're just like adding this yourself. So like what you were saying, Emily, is like, it's nice to kind of, yeah, I didn't realise I was doing that. Like it was nice to kind of like get involved with it from just like the words on the page. So yeah, I didn't think about the idea that other people that auditioned for the part may have interpreted different things.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the main reasons that I ended up picking Jack for the role, because we auditioned quite a lot of people for that. So it wasn't a case of me just like, it was like, I don't know, I assume people would just be like, oh, Charlie knows Jack, so he'd just like put him in the film. But it was really just like quite a long like audition process, and it was really because you kind of came in and you had like a really good idea in your head about who you thought the character was, and I was just like, I did not think of any of that stuff. It's, you know, when you have an actor come in, you want them to, like, I as the director can't be completely in the head of that character because I've got to think about all of the other elements at the same time, so you need to have somebody who's just like really, really focused on bringing out the most in the character, and yeah, you did that, so thank you. Emily, do you want to pick one?
The red sunglasses.
Hi.
Hello.
You were talking about it a little bit, but you said that you have a background for the character.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to know more about it.
Okay.
And how was for Charlie to direct you that way, because you have made up the character background and how you are going to play it.
Mm-hmm.
So how Charlie...
Well, what was nice, like, because this was all filmed in 2 days. Yeah, this was filmed in 2 days, so it was all filmed completely out of order, which is like a very standard thing for films. So like with Charlie, it was nice for him to be able to come to me and say, this is what's happening here, this is what he's feeling at this moment, this is what's just happened, that sort of stuff. And I could like apply that through the acting. I can put myself in that position because of what Charlie tells me. So it wasn't like we didn't build the character together. We absolutely did, from like what he's like to the look to how he would speak. Like we were thinking about like different accents at times as well. But in the moment of filming, it was Charlie kind of like telling me where he was at this point, rather than like what he's like. It was what's happening at that moment, which helps me kind of get that across.
Pretty good answer. Well done.
Cheers. Was that everything you were going to say? But
I think so.
Right.
I felt that there might have been something else, but if there was, it's gone. So.
I mean, like with Charlie as well, because I direct a lot of stuff as well, and it was nice to kind of like be able to put my faith completely in Charlie. Like I came up with, I suggested a few things, but a lot of the time I was being like a stereotypical actor where I was like, the take was finished and he wanted to move on, and I was like, no, I don't think I've done my best yet. Like I need to do more, please. And he was like, no, I've got it, it's fine. I'm like, oh, but I'm shit still. But like watching it back, I don't cringe, which is nice.
Yeah, no, I don't think there are any moments that I can remember where I told you to do something and you were like, my character wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
at all.
yeah.
There are definitely times where you would just like suggest like different things, like, and stuff that wasn't even to do with like your character as well, like shots and things like that. But you were always very nice when I said yes or no to you. So
yeah, there was also, I remember specifically, because one of the like nice things about when Charlie directs, and this is like different styles and stuff, but I don't like it when directors say the line to you, how they want it to be said, but there was like, and Charlie describes what the situation is rather than doing that. But at one point I was not getting it, and I just went, Charlie, I know this is bad, but please just say the line to me how you want me to say it. And he was like, no, I'm not doing it.
I told you the reason you don't do that is because I am not going to be able to do it as well as I want you to do it.
Yeah.
It's just not going to work. So,
yeah, but we got it.
Yeah, we got it.
Or you cut the line out, I'm not sure.
I can't remember which one that was. Maybe I cut it. Anyone got any questions for Kieran? He's been quiet.
Kieran.
I'm fine. I'm having a lovely time.
Has anyone specific you got a question for Kieran?
Yeah.
Okay.
Shout it out. Just shout it out.
Whoa.
Okay, so when you're filming, do you have a lot of say in what you actually film, or do you take like a million shots from just all different places, or do you get kind of a vibe for the mood and then know where you want to take the shot from, or is that Charlie who decides that, or where does that come from?
Yeah, it's something we typically do beforehand, especially with something like this where we had to shoot in 2 days. So it was a very tight schedule to kind of get through everything. And so yeah, me and Charlie typically when we do these films, we'll sit down for a day and basically just talk through all the shots. Charlie will normally give me some homework beforehand and tell me to watch a few movies of whatever genre we're doing today, and we'll sort of discuss about what the tropes might be. So I mean, for this one, it was very much, there's a lot of sort of very wide shots that cut into very close-up shots, which again is a kind of Western sort of trope and things. So yeah, absolutely, we sort of sat down and planned it all out. Charlie is a very precise director, and so went as far as drawing me blocking diagrams. So that means basically for every scene, he drew me little top-down pictures of where all the characters are going to stand. And so based off that, I was able to get in, and I had half a day before we shot to get on the set and basically light it and plan exactly where the characters are going to stand in the room, and then put my lights accordingly so that I can kind of do that. So yeah, but for this one, it was all very much kind of planned in advance, because I think if it hadn't been, we probably wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, if there was too much sort of like playing around on set, then we would have not finished the film, I don't think.
Yeah,
we really
absolutely.
needed to be like dead on, and we did end up like cutting quite a lot of stuff on the second day as well to make sure that we had enough time. So yeah, no, it was a tricky shoot, but we did it. Any more? Any for Emily? Yes. Go, you go. You said yes.
Most people know what filmmakers, directors, and actors do, but not many people know what producers do. So could you give us insight to what you do throughout the entire production, and maybe anything that you've had to say, no, Charlie, you can't do that?
Oh yeah, I have to say that a lot. So it depends on the scale of the film. So on a film like this, there's usually just one producer, and sometimes they'll also take the role of production manager. I had a production manager on this one, which was amazing. But on a larger scale, there's going to be lots of different producers with different jobs. Some of them are just giving people money, so that's not what I did. Basically, my job is to kind of see the whole project through from the very beginning to the very end. I schedule everything, I give people deadlines, I plan meetings, I crew the film, I will set up the casting sessions, deal with all of the legal stuff with actors, and make sure everyone's fed. Just orchestrate everything, basically. Like, I need to know everybody's business so that I can make sure everything happens properly. Insurance, locations.
The best way of, I think, a way of segregating the differences is I would say the director makes it and the producer makes it happen. Like, so, like Charlie will go to Emily and be like, I want to do this. And then she will go, okay, now to do that, I need to do this, this, and this, and this. Like, so I want to film in a hotel room. What do you do, Emily?
Are we going to do it on location or are we going to build a set?
Okay, we're going to build a set. How do we do that?
I need studio space.
And then what? You need to get someone to build a set, I guess.
Yeah.
It's all that. It's just that forever. It's just like, that's all it is.
It's constant problem solving, basically.
Just breaking stuff down.
Making a film is like doing the impossible. It's like making the perfect situation to make a situation seem realistic when it's totally not, like when there's a million people on set like holding boom mics and stuff. So it's basically just constant problem solving. Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
And then a good producer will have everything under control enough so that when there are problems happening, the director can be like, I know that there's an issue happening offset. I know it's like possible we might not get this actor, but I'm not worried about it because I trust my producer enough to figure that stuff out. So
Charlie knows nothing. Charlie is under what I call the veil of ignorance, is that he doesn't know about any of the issues, so he can just focus on the story. Same with everybody else. I don't want anyone else to know about the problems. I'll just take care of them, and then everyone can just do their job.
Do you want to talk about anything you changed that you were just like, no, we can't do that, think of something else?
Pick one, just pick one.
Having a 3-day shoot, we had to do it in 2 days because of budget.
Well, the big thing for me was that first scene, because originally I had it planned to like take place like in a bigger hotel lobby, like so there would be a bit of that phone call at the beginning, but there would also be like an interaction with like the person at the desk at the hotel and all of that stuff, and it was just a case of we don't have enough money, so figure out how to do it in a quarter. And then I rewrote it and then came up with that scene instead. Yeah, because I don't know if anyone of you noticed, but like the set that was built, which obviously looks brilliant, but we took that, then we turn the wall around and have that be the lobby of the hotel? Yeah, at one point we had to like say, okay, we're not going to see this wall anymore, so we're going to take that wall out, re-wallpaper it, put it in a different corner, but we knew we were going to have to go back into the hotel room at some point, so we had to like frame deliberately so we wouldn't see that wall that was then missing. Yeah, all of that stuff when like Jack enters the room and Bill is naked. That was all when we were missing a wall because we were using it somewhere else. Yeah, so you weren't to know, but like, let's say this is the space we filmed in. Like the hotel was like here, like on the stage, and then we filmed the corner just over here, just like we just literally just put it in a different spot. It's so strange when you walk in and see it, but then obviously when you see it like that, it's all beautifully framed in that. Good job. All right. It looks like a real hotel. So it's cool.
And you did painstaking hours of digital wallpaper smoothing in the edit, didn't you? Because it looked like it had been freshly wallpapered because it had. So yeah, all the wrinkles and stuff Charlie had to get rid of.
So I'm working on a behind-the-scenes video which is actually done, but I might not show you the whole thing, but I could use it as an example to show you what I had to change. While I work on that, any more questions?
You just pick anybody. Whoever's got the mic, just go and pick somebody. Oh, right at the front.
Hi, I really enjoyed the film. I was just wondering how you kind of deal with the fact that you're all good friends outside of filmmaking, as well as how you kind of keep that professional and I guess don't end up taking your disagreements outside of the studio perhaps, or
Should we go down the line for this?
We're quite good at this ourselves, aren't we? So
because I live with Kieran, and we like it's very different when being on set to being just a mate with him. So if I'm making something, there's no sort of like friendship barrier there. It's just, Kieran, I need this done. Why is this not happening? Or good job on making this happen, or whatever. And there's been times where we've just had, like, not arguments on set, but like disagreements.
Snappy.
But then
We've been,
snappy.
or I've been snappy.
Or I've gone off and sat down and been like, okay, I'm not going to talk to Kieran for like 5 minutes, and then I'm going to come back, and but it always gets done. And then offset, it's never awkward. It's never, because you know it was just about that. You know it was just about making that film. So there's no kind of part of you that's like, oh, well, you did this to me today, or whatever. It's just, it's always like, fine.
We do this weird thing the moment we step off set, especially if we're driving back together, we'll just review each other from the day and go like, you did this and this pissed me off and stuff like that. And then you go, okay, well I will try not to piss you off again.
It's like a massive learning thing, especially during Project Library, because that was where I was becoming a better director. So I was getting in the car with Kieran and going, what did I do well and what did I do wrong? And then after that I would just try and get better and not do those things again, or try and do those things more. Depending on what they were. They just do the bad things more. Hello.
So this is, I'll just see if you can actually see any of this, because I'm not sure if it's like close enough. But, so this is sneak peek of the behind the scenes video that I made that's going up next week. But I'll just give you a little insight. So because we re-wallpapered to do this scene here, we had to wallpaper quite quickly, which meant we had lots of seams. It's more obvious. So that's another thing I had to do. That person who walks in front, I had to pick her out of a different bit and put her in.
Oh my God.
That's Jamie. Because I was like, I had to walk in at a different point where I thought I was going to cut to the wide, but then I decided to use a different wide, but I thought it looked better to have someone walk in, so I digitally took her out and put her in somewhere else. So this is like a better example of the wallpaper stuff. You can see just like here, these big seams, like here, and it just looked a bit ugly, so I had to go in digitally and just like paint them all out. All of the stuff, like any shot that you see of Jack in this film, during this first scene, I've gone in and like messed around with it in After Effects to pick everything out. I think this film actually has like more visual effects shots in it than my last two films combined because of this sort of stuff. And then I don't know if you'll notice this as well, but we also had, this is coming up, this is the biggest sort of like thing I had to do in After Effects. Basically, I wanted Jack to, leave the room in a bit of a shock and slam the door behind him. So if you look up at this one, this is the raw footage up here, you can see that as he slams the door, it wobbles a bit. And then that was enough for me to be like, now I have to like go in and like cut him out and turn these into like different images on their own.
Jesus.
And just to make it, because it's like, it's a big part of the film, and when you see a set wobble, it's like it takes you out of the movie completely. It was like very important to make sure you didn't see that. So I did a lot of editing to just make it so that it doesn't move at all. That was the trickiest like thing I did in After Effects.
I did a mad one of these as well actually on this film. Because I graded the film I sat down with Charlie sometimes and then did the bulk of it on my own. Basically, that opening scene with Jack in the foyer.
About my...
Yeah, basically, like that one I lit in such a rush, and I was trying to make it look very harsh because it was supposed to be again Western inspired and like a kind of harsh desert sun shining down on him and trying to make him look very tired. But when I looked at it, it just sort of looked like I didn't know what I was doing and that I'd done a bad job lighting it, basically. So to kind of pick Jack's face out a bit more, I drew two shapes around his eyes and then motion tracked them the entire way through every one of his close-ups.
With the tracking on, like, it freaked me out. I don't want to look at that anymore.
This will give you a bit more insight into what the set looked like as well. We have a little time-lapse thing here that YouTube themselves took. Let's see if it plays at all. No, where has it gone?
It went, it's over there.
Over here.
Weird.
Come on. There we go. So yeah, Toby at YouTube filmed this little bit. So this is like that's the main set over there, and then this is us filming. That's Kieran's light. This is us filming all of the stuff there, and then back here. That's the world we lived in for 2 days.
That's me just chilling out on the bed there for a minute.
And we had to make, you see, this is the last thing we shot over here, is the two sort of like close-ups of the two guys sort of like facing off. Because we didn't like how we filmed it the first time, so we had to go back and film it again and sort of move everything around. But yeah, that's literally behind the scenes right there. That's what behind the scenes looks like. So yeah. You just over there with the glasses and yeah.
Hello, sir.
Hi, I really like the film, a massive step up from Offline.
Thank you.
So we were saying that T Chronicles and Offline were, as their parodies, quite light-hearted. How conscious do you think your decision was to make something a bit more hard-hitting? Or was that just something that happened?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I really wanted to make something more hard-hitting at all. I think as soon as I came up with the character of Bill, and knew he was going to have to sort of say some terrible stuff in order to be a realistic character, it did sort of turn into it felt like I needed to make a more serious film in order for that story to work. It wasn't a conscious choice of I want to make something more serious. It was I want to focus more on two characters and see if you can learn more about them, and then as a result more serious stuff just kind of came out of that. Yeah, it just sort of kind of happened to me. But I really liked doing that. I found that the sort of the big scene where they're shouting at each other over the bed was the most fun thing for me to direct, even though it was also the most complicated thing to do. So I've definitely found that I just really enjoy doing that sort of stuff. I don't know how you found playing that stuff out, because that big scene as well was that was the audition scene, so we went through that quite a lot.
Doing something, because obviously a lot, I don't know how many people know me in here, but I do a lot of comedy stuff. So then doing something with a bit more of a punch to it, it's definitely, I absolutely want to do more of that stuff when I can. Obviously comedy is just something I'm very much drawn to. But getting your teeth into something a bit more interesting, because Ali is very different to me, from everything. So it was nice to kind of be able to do a bit of shouting at people and all that sort of stuff. And I think and that was another thing about the directing as well, was that I would get too shouty at times. I'd immediately become too angry, and Charlie would have to say, no, you're becoming too angry too quickly. You're not going to be that defensive. You'll be a bit more, so stuff like that. It was good to be able to kind of be a bit more serious. I'm sure, obviously, because you've directed and done a lot of comedy stuff in the past as well, I'm sure, is it the same sort of thing? You're just happy to do something a bit different?
It's just, it's more complicated to figure out what's going to be going on in people's heads at various points. And to it's more difficult, I think, to figure out if something is working or not. Talked about this a lot with Kieran, because I think he's used to doing lots of comedy stuff, and when you are making a comedy, it's very simple if it's working or not. It's does it make you laugh on set or not? That's the only gauge you really need to make sure it's all working. Whereas with drama,
it's more about being genuine.
It's more about being genuine, and then it also, I think, requires everything to link together in a much better way. Whereas with comedy, it's in that moment, you need to be making a joke work. Whereas with drama, it really needs to work between the scenes that have come before it and the whole film together. It's just much trickier. But that's kind of I like the challenge of that.
I think it's easier to hide in comedy as well. Sometimes I think if we've made a mistake on set and maybe if we discover it afterwards or discover it on set, you just go, it's kind of funny, just that's fine. Whereas I think when you're doing serious stuff, whatever the issue is, whether it's a physical prop thing or whether it's a a character thing or whatever it might be. I think with comedy you can just go, it's funny, never mind.
Yeah, I think if this was a comedy film, if this was much different, you would have left the shaky sort of set in, because that's part of old film, is that sometimes the sets would shake, and if you left that in, that'd be quite a funny moment to have. Or maybe they'd even slam it and then look at the set or something. But in this, it needed to be gone, and it needed to be all completely about the characters, not about their surroundings.
Okay.
I forgot what the question was.
Cool. I think we got time for just one more. So who wants to?
Who's got the best question?
We've got 3 minutes. Yeah. Put your hand down if your question's rubbish. Everyone's questions are great. Oh no, a few hands went down. Now I feel really bad. Kieran, do you want to pick one?
Oh, we've got one.
No, it's too much.
Oh no, sorry.
The person with the microphone. I choose you.
Thank you, Kieran.
Hello.
Hello.
I just wanted to ask you, how long did it take you to practice that accent to get it perfect?
Ages. So I figured out exactly what I was going to say by writing it, obviously. And then, so you found somebody who was had a similar voice to me. Do you want to go and talk about that?
Yeah, so basically, Charlie wrote the words, and then I found a voice actor who had the right accent. And then they recorded themselves saying all the lines in many, many different ways. And then I think you edited together what you liked the best, and then you kind of just use that to mimic, basically.
Like learning a song.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just like was mimicking him exactly. Like he basically acted it for me. I told him what I wanted, and then I just like mimicked the way that he was talking, and then I just did that. I just like practiced it over and over and over again, just for like I don't know, it was like a few days, and then when it finally came to filming, I was like sitting on my phone, and Emily was sitting behind me. And then after I'd done like a take, she would tell me what I did wrong, and then we just went over it and over and over it until I felt like I had the accent right and the performance that I wanted. And
I
it was
also
like,
did his hair for that.
Yes, she did my hair too.
Yeah, we kind of reversed hairstyles.
Yeah, we did.
For that role.
That is the most important character
Yeah.
thing. Actually, we completely missed that when we were
Yeah, I think as well, I noticed that whenever I want to be a different person, just put it down. Just put it down, different person. Easy. Easy acting.
Superman logic.
Yeah, I think it was like 11 takes or something to get that accent down. And I still didn't really know whether or not I was good at it. I just had to go on other people.
Yeah, and I had 2 versions on your phone of that. And when I was in the first scene when he was talking, I just had a video of Charlie, and I just actually had him in my ears. So it was like, that was another way of making that bit feel more genuine, because it actually felt like I was just having a conversation with somebody, but I just had to fill in the gaps where he was silent. But yeah, it was nice to just have that video to act off of, and there was 2 versions of it as well, so I had to do it different ways both times. So yeah, that was good. I think it sounds good as well. Good job on the American accent.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm pleased I didn't mess that up. Yeah, I was pretty worried because I was just like, I have to, I want to put myself in the film somewhere, but I wanted to have a minor role, and it was just like, that's the only character that's left is the American boyfriend. So I was just like, I guess I have to figure out how to do that. And that's the end. So thank you very much for coming, everyone. Stop clapping! I have more to tell you. I just wanted to say, so the film comes out tomorrow. It's going to be on my channel at 4 p.m. I've got it scheduled. It's all ready to go. So do please watch it again online. Do all of that. This is probably the only time I'll ever tell anyone to like a video. But, I'm very proud of it. So please do click that like button.
Subscribe to Charlie.
And if you want to talk about it at all, use the Strangers in a Bed hashtag. Do all of that nonsense that promotional people tell you to do.
Before we go, can I do one thing? I would like to film a video and say I'm on a panel at Some in the City. Kieran's here, and I want Kieran to go, "Hiya," and then I want to turn that to you, and I want you all to yell, "Hiya." Will you be able to do that for me? All right? All right, cool. Here we go. Let's try it.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah, you don't want to do it?
I don't want to do that.
Come on.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Ready? So I'm on a panel at Summer in the City with Kieran O'Brien.
Oh, yeah.
Happy?
Yeah, very happy.
Never been happier. Never been happier. Woo! Just kidding. Thank you.
Thank you again for coming, everyone.